Hi besties, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I have a lot of new faces here as of late, and I realized I never really did like a formal introduction video on this channel. I kind of just jumped right into making vlogs and was like, yeah, catch up. If you follow me on Instagram, then you'll know a little bit more, but if not, then this is kind of all you get. So I figured I would do an official like sit down video, get to know me. We're doing it Q&A style. I have here a cold brew, obviously. Who would I be if I did not? Mug, courtesy of World Market, so fucking cute. And then the brew inside of this, it's actually decaf because I've actually already had my 2 cold brews for the day, but these are caramel bread pudding grounds from Fresh Market. Oddly enough, if you have not tried Fresh Market's coffee, you really should. It's very good. Their decaf grounds are like the best decaf grounds I have found for making brew. So oh my god, just caramely and delicious. As for creamer, we did a little bit of the Chobani sweet cream, 0 sugar, base sweetened with Trader Joe's liquid stevia, and then flavored stevia drops are the toffee ones from Sweet Drops. So without further ado, let's just get right into the questions. I'm going to be answering all things nursing, bodybuilding, how I got into competing, a little bit about my personal life. We've got a lot of questions, a lot of good stuff, so I'm excited to share with you guys. I would also just like to say that I fully tried to film this video the other day and I was actually rambling way too much that I didn't even get to the Q&A portion of the video. I was just talking and I realized that I was like answering a lot of the questions without even like getting to the question portion. So anyway, we are going to try to be a little more organized today and just answer your questions because that basically helps me tell my story in a more concise way. So I got quite a few questions asking me kind of how I got into bodybuilding, how I got into fitness, what my fitness journey has looked like, why I got into wellness specifically as a category to compete in. So we're just going to condense all of those essentially into one mega question. And I'm just going to tell you guys a little bit about my fitness background and kind of how we got to where we are today. So growing up, I rode horses, both just like as a hobby and competitively. I grew up on a farm in a very small town here in North Carolina, and my mom had grown up like riding horses and stuff. And so when we moved here to North Carolina, because I was born in Hawaii, by the way, humble brag, but we moved here when I was like 2, almost 3, I believe, to a farm on a lot of land. And so my mom wanted horses, so we got horses, and I grew up with horses. My very first horse was a little miniature pony named Bucky. That was my man. And then as I got older, I started getting into like pony club and stuff, and we would do like shows every weekend pretty much. It was like show jumping, eventing, dressage, like more English based competing is what I did. And I did that like all throughout early elementary school and a little bit in middle school too. But I never played like organized sports growing up, no soccer, no basketball, nothing like that. But when I got to middle school, I had gotten really into gymnastics. And so I did a little bit of gymnastics in middle school, and then I decided I wanted to do cheerleading. So then I did cheerleading on the school team. I didn't do any like competitive cheer or anything like that. But as far as fitness goes, even as a kid, I had been like really interested in people who like went to the gym, and I just thought gyms were like so cool. I thought people who lifted were so cool. I don't know, I was just so intrigued by it, but there was nobody like in my house that modeled fitness really in any way. So I never really like did anything like that until I was old enough to make that decision for myself, if that makes sense. So in high school, I was still doing cheerleading, and when I got my license, I guess that would have been my junior year because I'm young for my grade because of my birthday. So anyway, when I got my license was when I started going to our local gym, and you know, it's the same old story that every girl has. Like I was always like, I'll pop up a picture. I was a little chunky like in middle school and stuff, was never really happy with my body. It was giving very much she's doing sit-ups in her bed at night before she goes to sleep because she thinks that that is going, sorry, there was a bug, because she thinks that's gonna get her abs. Luckily, I never did any of the weird like restrictive eating patterns because I have simply always loved food way too much to do anything like that just on my own accord, but very much doing sit-ups sit-ups in the bed, very much looking up how to get abs in 10 minutes. I did some running just because it's like easy, you know, you don't need any equipment, you just get up and go. But as for once I started going to the gym, I would do cardio at first. So I would do either like 10 minutes of running, or I would do the elliptical for like 10 or 20 minutes. And then I would just like do a little circuit through the machines, basically. I think at first I was doing like upper, lower, and abs every time. It was giving cardio, upper, lower, abs. And that's what I would do in a whole gym sesh, and then I would leave. And I really enjoyed it though. This was my first experience with like working out, lifting weights, and I loved it. Really the main driver that pushed me to even feel comfortable enough showing up in a gym was the fact that my boyfriend, Josh, who you guys have seen, we started dating when we were in high school. So he would go to this gym with his friends. And so I'm like, oh my God, well, I want to kind of like halfway hang out with you, and like you being there makes me feel comfortable. So I would go when they would go. And, you know, he played like football and basketball. So he was used to weightlifting with free weights. And obviously I had no experience with that. So I would always badger him about like teaching me how to do like squat, bench, deadlift. For some reason, I was just so drawn to that. I was like, I just want to know how to lift free weights. But, you know, I was a little too nervous, like whatever. So I just stuck to my machines. I just stuck to my circuit. And I did that the remainder of time that I was in high school. But I was going to the gym like 4 and 5 times a week after school. And honestly, I was loving it. So I graduated from high school in 2020. But as we know, the big 2020 shutdown because of COVID, my local gym shut down. So I could no longer go and lift weights there. So what I started doing was at home HIIT workouts. There's a girl on YouTube. Her name is Sydney, but I can't think of her last name. But she does like HIIT workouts. And so I would just put up my phone in the garage on one of her videos, and I would hit a little HIIT workout. And I did that like 4 and 5 times a week. And that is how I stayed active like through COVID and when I graduated and everything. And then I started college in the fall of 2020. And by this point, you know, stuff was like kind of opening a little bit. And the college I went to, which by the way is UNC Charlotte, has a huge new university recreation center. And so I was so excited to go and use this gym. And I'm like, oh my God, this is gonna be life-changing for me. And honestly, it was. This was the gym that I learned how to do free weights in. So I learned as soon as I got there, I learned how to do squat, bench, deadlift. And that kind of catapulted me into my like powerlifting journey. And that's what I did from like 2020 to like 2022 was more like powerlifting based things, just strength based things. Those are all the people that I hung around were like powerlifters, because powerlifting is like huge here in Charlotte, kind of. So that's just what I was around. That's the crowd I was around. And so obviously I was influenced. Up until this point though, I had never done anything with nutrition. I had never tracked macros. I wasn't even like prioritizing protein. Like literally I was just eating however I wanted to, which if you know, you know, once you get your own freedom and you can start making your own food decisions, they're usually not the best. Very much Taco Bell, Chipotle. I've always had a huge sweet tooth, so Cold Stone Creamery, because that was my favorite growing up. Oh my God, she was on the roster. But yeah, I was literally just eating however I wanted, eating from the dining hall, like whatever. And like I said, not even prioritizing protein. After about like a year, I believe I started prioritizing some protein. We were doing like the Caramel Premier protein shakes in my latte. So I would do that with like 2 shots of espresso. That's a really good way to get protein in, because I think those are like 20 grams of protein. I was eating protein bars, like trying to kind of get into it a little bit. And then I remember specifically the moment that I decided I was going to fully take hold of my nutrition and start tracking macros and like completely changed my life in this aspect. And I was on a vacation, and it just so happened to be a beach vacation. And I was like, you know, I am tired of hating the way I look. I am tired of feeling self-conscious. I'm tired of it. I'm in the gym all the time. I'm putting all this work in. And I knew, you know, that a lot of it is nutrition. Even though I knew nothing about nutrition at the time, I knew that working out was only part of it. And if I wanted to look the way I wanted to look, I was going to need to get a hold of my nutrition. And so it was that trip that I I came to this realization and I was like, okay, when I get home, everything is going. The Dr. Pepper, she's getting thrown out. All of my sweet treats getting thrown out. We are switching to diet soda. We are making sure our water intake is right. We are gonna be tracking for the first time, making healthy choices, not going to fast food anymore, only going to like restaurants if I could track them. So I hit it hard out the gate, because if there's one thing about me, it's that when I decide something, we just kind of go all in. Like, there is no easing into things. There is no nothing. We just make the switch. And so that's what I did. I threw out everything. I went to the grocery store, bought diet soda, sugar-free stuff. I mean, obviously, like, it was very much like if it fits your macros. As for like what macros I was following, I just typed in like the calculators online, you know, and I kind of like matched that, and that's what I used to get the macros that I was following. And at first it was definitely more of like a loose follow, because, you know, I was eating from the dining hall, so like there's only so much you can control because they portioned everything out for you, but I was still like making better decisions. There was like a cleaner eating section of our dining hall, so I would like pick stuff from there, only grilled foods, no fried foods, and honestly just like building the foundation for living this lifestyle, because it's not a diet. You have to change the way you live. You have to change the way your mind functions around food and the foods that you want and the foods that you crave. So this was a whole new thing for me, but I was like, hell yeah, we're just gonna go all in. It was also around this time when I made that switch that I was starting to follow just more bodybuilders on social media in general, because I feel like that was kind of really taking off, like on TikTok and whatnot. So I was seeing more of that community. And also, as for my workout structure, up until this point, like I said, I was doing more powerlifting things. I was getting my programming from a guy who was in the strength and conditioning like master's program at my school. And around this time, we had decided to run like a hypertrophy block, and I really enjoyed that style of training. Like, that was my first introduction to like training till failure, mind muscle connection, all of these things, and I loved it. And so the fact that I loved that, the fact that I was following more bodybuilders, and the fact that I was now like really hyper focused on just like building my physique and improving myself and whatever, I was like, I actually don't even think I really like powerlifting like that. I literally had only competed in 2 meets that were held by my school, so it was like nothing crazy. I wasn't really like in it, you know? But I was like, I just don't really think I'm meant here. I don't feel like I really resonate with these people, like whatever. But from what I had seen, I was like, I feel like I really resonate with bodybuilders. Like, that is the community I want to be a part of. I don't really give a fuck about being super strong. Like, I just want to look a certain way. I just want to live this lifestyle. I want to build muscle. And so that kind of was the catalyst, if you will, for me like switching from powerlifting to bodybuilding. And I was like, yeah, I think I want to do this competitively one day. Obviously, I was still very much in school. I was literally only like halfway through my degree, and, you know, broke college student. Like, I was like, I can't afford a coach or anything like that, but I know this is something that I want. I think I have a great muscular foundation, and I just want to keep building on the foundation that I have. So I basically just like self-coached myself. Nothing crazy, obviously. I was just tracking my macros, trying to train hard, and just like getting the lifestyle down, because I knew in the future that was going to do me so well. So I was like, you know what? I'm not in a rush to get a coach, to compete, to do anything like that. I just want to build a solid foundation. And so that's what I did. But it's funny looking back, because this was like before wellness was really a big thing in the United States. So I always thought I was going to be a figure girl, because I knew I was too big for bikini. And I knew, like, I've always had like pretty developed shoulders and like a pretty developed upper body, and obviously like bigger legs. Wellness wasn't a thing. So I was like, yeah, I would be a figure girly. That's what I would do. And besides, upper body training was my favorite. Not that I like hated leg day, but so that's what I figured I would do. My plan, though, was always to just build this foundation while I was in college, and then as soon as I graduated from college, I was going to hire a coach and work towards competing. My plan was never to just like hire a coach to start a prep and compete. My goal was always to hire a coach to continue building, continue working towards that, and then eventually compete. To me, competing in bodybuilding was something that was so far off. Like, I was like, oh, I don't even think I'm anywhere close to being ready. But this had to have been, so this was 2024. This was between my last 2 semesters of nursing school. I was working as a tech or CNA, whatever you want to call it, and, you know, was working more, so I was making more money, and I was like, I'm going to do it. I am going to bite the bullet and I'm going to hire a coach. So during the summer of 2024 is when I started kind of looking. I was putting feelers out because I was just getting to a point where I was feeling really lost in my journey. We had just moved to like a fun part of Charlotte too. If you're from here, we had just moved to South End and we were doing a lot of going out, a lot of eating out. And I was like, this is not me. This, like, I need to get back on track. I'm ready to start really, really working towards my goals. And I think hiring a coach is really going to help me do that. So I submitted applications for a couple people, and one of the people who got back to me was Sophia. And I didn't even wait to hear back from the rest of the people. I was like, I'm just gonna go with her. I like her. I fuck with her. Let's go with her. So beginning of July is when I hired Sophia and we got started, and I was so excited. Oh my God. I bought my first pair of posing heels, and I was literally posing in like a bathing suit top and like underwear. It's so funny when you look back at pics. It's like, oh God, she knew nothing, but was very excited to get started. And it was at this point though that I had like discovered wellness, and I was pretty certain I wanted to compete in wellness. So there was quite literally like no question as to what division I was going to be. We just kind of knew like wellness from the start. And obviously she was aware of my goals to compete, but in my head, we weren't going to be even talking about competing for another year and a half, 2 years. Like stepping on stage was not something that I ever even thought of as a possibility of the near future. So when we got started, we kind of found what my maintenance was, and then we went into a cutting period. So I cut from, I guess, July-ish, you could say, to October. Got off some good weight. Body comp was looking so much better. We reversed, and then beginning of 2025, yes, that's what year we're in, right? We went into a growing phase and did that until I started prep in April. So we were not together for long before we started prep. Now, we started talking plans for prepping at the end of 2024 is when she kind of brought it up. And I remember just being like, I don't even feel like I'm anywhere close to being ready, but if you feel like we have something, let's go for it. Because to me, I knew that I would never feel ready. And I feel like it's one of those things, like you just kind of have to decide you're going to do it and commit to it, because you're always going to be like, is it the right time? Is it like, how am I going to make this work? And you just got to say yes, because at the end of the day, if you want it bad enough, you're going to make it a priority and you're going to make it happen for yourself. And I was like, fuck it. Yeah, let's do it. Let's plan to compete in June, July is what we had planned on. And we did just that. So just wrapped up my very first competition season. So like I said, we started prep in April. My first show was end of July. Second show was end of August. And today, actually, as I'm filming this Q&A, I am 8 weeks post show. Now, to say that reversing is harder than prep is honestly such a light statement, because it just leaks harder, because it's so mental. And if you know anything about anything, does not just go for bodybuilding, but it is always going to be your mind that fucks you up more than anything else. You can do the hours of cardio, you can do the low food, that is all nothing. It is your mind. It is all your mind. And reversing is 1000% mental. And so I have fully been struggling. Just to be transparent, I'm struggling with food noise, I'm struggling with body image, I'm struggling with wanting to stick to the plan. I don't want to stick to the plan. I want to just be free to live and exist and to do, and it's really hard to want to follow the plan. It's hard to feel grateful for my privilege, which is something I hate admitting, because bodybuilding is such a privilege. Being able to move your body is a privilege. Being able to buy food that is good for you, that fuels your body, that is good for your health is a privilege. And right now, I don't feel privileged. Right now, I hate to say it, I feel kind of miserable doing it. So I know that's not forever, and I know these feelings are fleeting, and I know there's just a lot going on up in my head right now. And so I'm just trying to like, yep, we're acknowledging these feelings. We know that they're there. I know that this is so normal for this time, and it's okay. I'm trying to give myself grace. I'm trying to remember why I do this. Remember that although this phase sucks and I feel like I'm really struggling and my hormones are all over the place and I feel like I can't even control my emotions half the time, this phase is serving such an important purpose, and it is not forever. And I'm going to come out of this and I'm going to feel amazing, and it's going to have taught me a lesson, and it's going to be okay. And I have to just tell myself that every day. I have to just take it one day at a time. So if you are reversing or you fucked your reverse in the past or whatever, like, like, just know I'm right there with you. It sucks. It's hard. People telling you still look good, while like, I mean, it is so kind, and I know that people mean so well, because I do the same thing to other people who are reversing. But it's like, okay, yes, like I'm getting these messages that I still look great and that I'm killing it and that I'm absolutely slaying this reverse, but like, it's me. This is a me problem. This is all internalized. It's this self-hatred, and I just need to be nicer to myself. And chances are, if you're reversing, you probably need to be nicer to yourself too, and give yourself grace, because you're probably doing way better than you're even giving yourself credit. So just know though, I'm right there with you, and I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You know what I mean? There has been so much like propaganda about like reversing like a pro. I feel like free meals are very demonized. I feel like alcohol is very demonized. And I'm like, oh, no. I was just in prep for however long, and the only thing that I was focusing on was bodybuilding. That was my number one priority. That's everything else I did was surrounding my bodybuilding goals. I am allowed to enjoy my life and live a little bit like a normal person right now. I do not care if I maybe gain just a little bit more than I quote should. I don't care if I look watery. I don't care that alcohol is not necessarily conducive to my goals right now. I'm gonna go to dinner with my man, and I'm gonna enjoy a beverage, and I'm gonna enjoy dessert after. And I'm gonna try not to feel guilty about it, because this is what life is about, is enjoyment. Because you deserve it. We all work hard, and we should treat ourselves. You deserve to treat yourself. And if I can like stress anything, I'm just like, you don't have to reverse like a pro. You can reverse like a human. You can reverse like a person. It doesn't make you a lesser athlete, a lesser bodybuilder. It does not mean anything. Just because you are more than 5 pounds up from where you were at your lowest of prep, that's totally okay. 1000% okay. Because the goal is not to stay as close to your prep weight as possible and stay super lean. Like, the goal is to put on body fat right now so that you can get healthy, you can get your hormones regulated, your recovery can be better, and you can start building muscle so that next time you prep, you look better. These are the priorities here. So lean is not law in this case. As for like my off-season plans and future prep plans and all of these things, so my feedback was just to grow, which is great. We love it. I love to eat and train. I can 1000% do that. Like I said, today is 8 weeks post-show. We're going to be running some blood work at the end of next week. We're going to kind of see where that stuff is, if my female sex hormones are even existent literally at all. We're going to work towards getting my period back. We're going to level out any sort of biomarkers that may be off, and obviously go into our growing season and start putting on tissue so we can grow into this wellness division, because we definitely need to grow. I do not have any desire to compete again until I am like leagues better than I was my first season. And I know it's my first competition season. I'm still very young. I'm literally only 23 years old. Like, I have so much time to grow and be successful in this sport. So I'm just locked in for the long haul as far as growing. I don't really know what that looks like for me yet. It's all kind of TBD. So we shall see. But obviously I'll keep you guys updated as, you know, we start getting into my growing season, if we're having any talk about, I don't know, plans. But it's probably just going to be a whole lot of growing, and then a little bit of like diet phases, health phases, growing some more. I mean, it's just going to be rinse and repeat until we are massive, which is the goal. So I'm excited. I just like training hard and living the lifestyle. Like, it's really all about the journey, not the destination, which is perfect, because honestly, I'm never going to feel satisfied anyway. So I'm like, I'm just locked in, and whatever Sophia tells me to do, I will do, because I actually trust her with my life. That's really like all the updates that I have for bodybuilding stuff right now. We're just kind of cruising through the last little bit of this like official reverse period. And then once we get lab work back, we'll have like a much better idea as to what we're going to do moving forward. One question I have been asked a lot just personally, a question that popped up a ton of times when I was asking for what you guys wanted to hear me talk about in this video, was just talking about balancing bodybuilding with nursing, with nursing school, with my relationships, with just everything. Because, you know, if you bodybuild, you know, it is all consuming because it's not just one little sector. Bodybuilding is not just your 1.5 to 2 hours at the gym a day. Bodybuilding is your life. Bodybuilding is your lifestyle. And so it seeps into literally everything. And so I know how hard it can be to juggle with literally anything, but especially juggling that with nursing school, with working 12s in the hospital, with having a partner. It is difficult. I'm not gonna lie. But number one for me, it's just like if you want something bad enough, you're going to make it happen. And that's just it. I wanted nursing, I wanted bodybuilding, and I want a relationship with people I care about. So I just make it happen. That's kind of number one. Going back to nursing school. If you're a nurse and you've had to endure nursing school, we have a little bit of shared trauma there. Not that my nursing school experience was like negative, but it's a lot. And it is 24/7. The studying, it actually never ends. You are constantly studying. So like I said, I started working with Sophia between my last 2 semesters of nursing school. And actually my last semester of nursing school was literally like our easiest semester. So it wasn't really hard like balancing bodybuilding with nursing school at the end because you're like 1 foot out the door type of thing. But my other 3 semesters of nursing school, I was still living the lifestyle. I just didn't have a coach. My first semester, I was able to keep my like same gym routine, like nothing really changed as far as that went. But our second semester in my nursing program is our hardest just because you take maternity, peds, med surg, and pharmacology. So there are 4 core classes and it is insane the amount of exams we had between all of those classes. Oh my God, it was at least an exam a week and it's a lot of content to cover. So I was still going to the gym 5 days a week at the beginning of that semester and I ended up having to cut it down to just 4 days a week so that I could have 1 more rest day that I could study after class and everything, because that's the other thing is I was literally in class like all day and then I would like study a little bit and then I would go train and then I would come home and then I had to like prep shit for the next day and try to study a little bit, and it was just a lot. So I ended up structuring my split so that I can only work out 4 days and have an extra like study day. But when I say I literally took any opportunity I possibly could to study, there are so many little pockets in the day that you can fit studying in that you just have no idea, and passive studying is a lot easier to work in than you think. So if you follow like Simple Nursing on YouTube, or I know a lot of people use Nurse Sarah, don't really love her, but Nurse Sarah, and there's a bunch of like other YouTube channels and stuff. So what I would do is when I was driving to and from school, so that was about like a 20-minute drive for me, I would have videos playing on my phone while I was driving, or I would be verbally reciting information as if I was like teaching it to somebody. Those are things I would always do. If I was doing cardio, I was watching a YouTube video. If I was eating lunch, because I think a lot of people think about mealtime as like, okay, mealtime is just to eat. Like I'm sitting down and I'm eating and that's all I'm doing. I had to get out of that. I had to start learning how to multitask. So I would be eating and I would be like reading out of my textbook, or I'd be eating and I'd be watching a video, or I would be taking notes or whatever, reviewing my PowerPoints. Like any moment I had where I didn't need to be focused on something else, I was studying. And that is the unfortunate reality of being in medicine, is that you're going to have to learn how to multitask in that way and how to prioritize your studying, because at the end of the day, you're getting this degree so that you can take care of people, and you need to not kill someone. So you do need to know this content. You can't just breeze through with Socratic and cheating on everything and whatever, because you're going to be expected to know this when you're on the field after you graduate. So you might as well commit it to memory at this point. I would be lying if I said, you know, that like my relationship hasn't had to take a back seat in nursing school, in my prep. And I'm lucky enough, you know, Josh and I have been together for 8 years now. So he doesn't think that I hate him when I'm like, hey, I need a second to go do XYZ, or like I'm not going to be available for the next 3 weeks because of this, and this I have going on. He understands. We already have a really solid foundation in our relationship. So I'm really lucky that he's understanding and he gets it, and it just kind of is what it is. But not everything is going to be balanced. You know what I mean? It's not, you only have so much you can give. So everybody gets a piece of the pie, and maybe it's not the same exact amount of pie all around, but you're giving all the pie you have. So really, like, my biggest strategies would just be to like try to finish my schoolwork before Josh got home from work, or at least prioritize like 1 day a week that I wasn't studying. Or we also did this a lot. He would help me study, and so it would be like we would go to a coffee shop and it would be like a little coffee date, and he would help me study and we would just have fun with it. So you just got to make it work. as for nursing, the career, working 312s and balancing bodybuilding, it's totally doable. So there's a couple things I get questions about. First thing is as far as meals and working. For meals at work, what I would do to make sure I was getting all my food in is I would not leave my meals in the break room or like in the refrigerator. I would just bring my lunchbox to my like computer station. That way, if I knew it was time to eat a meal or I was starving or whatever, I could whip it out really quick. I could be munching on it while I'm charting, while I have a quick second. And if I needed to dart into a room to do something or whatever, it's not a big deal. I can just leave it at my station. It's fine. Go do what I need to do and then come back and I can resume. So I never really had trouble like getting my food in because that was just the format that I followed. And because my food was right there, I didn't have to like leave my patients, you know what I mean, to like go eat. I could just eat when I had a second. So that's what I would do. As far as night shift and how I would structure eating, because you're flipping, you know, from days to nights, so that can make like an eating schedule kind of tricky to navigate. But what I would do is, so say I was working 312s in a row. The first day I was working, so I would be working at 7 p.m. right? I wake up at normal time that morning, let's say 7 a.m. whatever. I would wake up, I would do my fasted cardio or whatever, come home, make my pre-workout meal, eat my pre-workout meal. I would go train, try to be done training around like 11 or 12, eat my post-workout meal on the way home, come home, shower, and lay down and sleep till about 5 p.m. So usually that nap would end up being around like 3 or 4 hours for me, and I would get up at 5, I would get ready for work, I would eat a meal in the parking lot before I went in at 7, then I would eat, so that brings me up to 3 of my meals have been consumed for that day. I would typically eat again around midnight or something, kind of middle of the shift, and then towards the end of the shift I would eat my 5th meal and then come home, shower, go to bed obviously, and now you are fully flipped. And now you just kind of follow your normal like eating schedule, but the inverse, if that makes sense. And then when I would get off from my last shift, so 7 a.m. last shift, come home, typically I would only sleep from like 8 till honestly like 11 or 12. I could never really sleep that long because I was ready to like get back to living my life. So I'd wake up at like 12, do my cardio, whatever, and then I would just eat all my meals between like 1 and 8 p.m. Which if you're in prep, you don't have that much food, so it's kind of a treat because you get to eat these like mega meals. But what I would try to do is I would try to like rest on those days just because your body's pretty fatigued from working and stuff, and with like having the gym in there in that time slot doesn't really give you a lot of time to eat. So just for digestive purposes, I started resting on those days. That's how I navigate the nutrition side of things. Now, as far as the working out side of things with 12s, in off season, I would go to the gym after work all the time. Usually I would try to structure it so that I had like if I was working day shift, I didn't like to do 3 in a row on days. I would like to do 2 and then a 1 off or something. So typically what I would do is I would hit like my upper body day on my first day and then rest my second shift, and then the other shift floating in here somewhere I would also rest. But you know, sometimes you're stuck working a 3 in a row, and so typically what I would do is I would hit my leg day on the first day, upper body on the second day, rest on the third day is what I would do for day shift. But prep also got to a point where I literally was so exhausted after my 12 that I could not train, so I would just rest. And that is something, as somebody who does shift work, it's super important to just like be super communicative with your coach, and if you need more rest, you need more rest, you know? So I just ended up pretty much resting, and I would never work out after work during days towards the end of prep. And then when I flipped to night shift, nights is honestly a little bit easier to navigate like a workout split in my opinion, because the first day I could hit my leg day that morning before I took my pre-shift nap, right? Then my second shift, I would hit my upper body day, and then my third shift I'd rest. So basically I have lived though for the past 3 years of like working 12s, structuring my workout split around my work schedule. And that is what I have always done. And if there's any way I can structure it so that it's rest days and upper body days only, that's what I'm going to do, because it's the least fatiguing, it's the quickest, it's the easiest. So that's my suggestion to you, is if there's any way you can structure just your upper body days or your lighter days or whatever, because your legs are going to be tired after being on your feet for 12 hours. So for your sake, go with something easier. And yes, it is exhausting. going and hitting a lift after working a 12. And you know, that's why I no longer work inpatient and why I made the switch to outpatient, because I'm gonna be honest, I got burnt out dealing with working 12s and prep and working in the ICU and all that, but we can get into that in a minute. But that's my advice as far as like the workout side of things. You're not gonna want to work out after your shift, but you know what? You gotta remember, how bad do you want it, and how privileged you are to be in a capable body that can go hit a lift after your shift. Another question that I got was, why nursing? What made me get into nursing? What's my educational background? All these things. So, as I said earlier, I went to school at UNC Charlotte and I got my bachelor's degree in nursing. I graduated in December of 2024. I feel like very much a new grad still, but it's almost been a year since I graduated. So my plan going into college was actually to go to medical school or go to PA school. I've always been a high performer, like academically, and I was always really interested in the medical field. And so naturally, like, people see a high performer in academics, you say you want to do medicine, they're like, oh, doctor. No one ever says nurse. They always just assume doctor. And I didn't have any experience with like nurses growing up, or like nobody in my family was like sick, so I was like never in the hospital and had experience with healthcare, and B, nobody in my family was a nurse, so I don't know, it was just not even something that was on my radar. Graduated from high school, decided I was gonna pursue medicine, started college with a major in biology because I was like, well, that makes sense, I want to go to med school, let's just do biology. Got about 2 years into that degree and I said, this is not giving healthcare, this is giving plants, animals, cells, this is not interesting. And also, I don't want to go to school for 8 fucking years. I would like to be done after my 4 years is up, because I'm ready to get on with living my life. And Josh is a year older than me and he also went to UNC Charlotte. And I'm like, I don't want to put my life on hold just to be a doctor. That doesn't matter enough to me personally. So I remember expressing these feelings to my stepmom, who was a nurse for like 20 some years. And she said to me, she's like, well, what about nursing? It was literally like I had an epiphany. I was like, I genuinely have never even thought of it at all. And it's funny looking back because I had literally gone and shadowed her at work a couple of different times. She worked in a dermatology office. And so originally that's like kind of what I wanted to do, was be like a dermatology provider. So I went and I shadowed her though, coincidentally. And I was like, you know, I just never thought of it, but you're so right. I just wanted to help people. I already had experience with like customer service. And if you work as a nurse, you know, it is kind of customer servicey, just plus healthcare, honestly. So I said, you know what, you're right. I think that is what I want to do. And so I switched my major, which is a process in and of itself. Luckily, a lot of the stuff like transferred as far as credits go, but it did set me back 1 semester, which is why I graduated in December of 2024 and not May of 2024. But anyway, and oh my God, it was literally the best decision I could have ever made, was making that switch, because now, knowing what I know about healthcare and nursing and providers, I say this every single day. I'm like, I never want to have the responsibilities that a provider has, ever. I do not want to be a provider. I have no desire. Honestly, I didn't even know what kind of nursing I wanted to do once I got into nursing school. I was just kind of like, okay, we're just going to get through school. We're going to go through our clinical rotations and I'm going to kind of see. I need to get a feel for everything. And then, you know, I'll make my decision after that. And honestly, I hadn't even decided what I wanted to do until I got to my last semester of nursing school. I remember when I was thinking about where I wanted to work and I was starting to apply and everything and whatever, reflecting back, my favorite clinical rotations were my pediatric ones and my maternity ones. But I knew labor and delivery, oh my God, getting in with labor and delivery as a new grad, honestly, you can kiss that shit goodbye unless you have good connections in there. So I was like, okay, and it's wonderful, but I don't know. I feel like that's just like not my world. Loved peds, right? So highly considered peds. And the only other thing that I like didn't really have experience in was critical care. But that was where my senior like preceptorship was in the surgical trauma ICU. So like I had a little bit of interest in that, whatever. After like mulling everything over, I was like, no, I want to do critical care. I want to be challenged. I want to use obviously my critical thinking skills. I feel like it's the perfect balance of like fast pace and high acuity, and still though having to be super caring and comforting, because these people are literally dying. So you need to be there to comfort the families, you need to be there to comfort the patients. Like, it was just kind of everything I wanted wrapped up in one little nice bow. But then I was like, okay, I loved working with kids, which came as a shock to me because I never anticipated to like working with kids, but I loved it. I was like, do I want to do pediatric ICU or do I want to do adults? Now, where I worked as a CNA was an adult med surg floor, so I had a lot of experience with adults, and I had no experience with kids besides like my clinical rotations. And ultimately I was like, listen, this is my first nursing job. Realistically, am I probably going to stay in this place for very long? No, I am not, because I knew bedside was not something I wanted to do long term. I knew it was high stress. I knew the schedule I didn't love, right? And I was like, I think I want to go with adults. I just want to get a really solid foundation that's going to allow me to really hone in on all my nursing skills. And if I don't love it or whatever, I'll get my experience and then I'll get out of there and I will move on to something else and I can specialize further at that point. But I just like didn't want to start in a specialty, because then that's like all I would know, and I was afraid that that would kind of pigeonhole me there and I wouldn't be able to like do more. Whereas if I just got a broader base of knowledge, I would be able to just kind of go wherever. So I was looking out for future me and I was like, okay, what's going to make me the best candidate for anything? Let's just go broad. So I knew I wanted to do adult ICU, and the way it works at the hospital here in Charlotte is you apply for a nurse residency program as a new grad. That's how you get hired on. So they have a critical care nurse residency program, and basically you just apply to the residency program. We have the surgical trauma ICU, the medical ICU, neurosurgical ICU, Dixon heart unit, which is like our heart surgery unit, and then our cardiovascular ICU. So basically you apply for the position and then you rank the ICUs based on which one you want the most to which one you want the least. They go through your applications and then they send your applications off to the ICUs if you make it through like the screening process, basically if they like feel like you're qualified or whatever. So I submitted my application and I got denied. I actually got denied from all of the ICUs. My resume did not get moved forward. And I remember I was at school the day that I found out and I said, oh no. Y'all don't know who you're dealing with. I'm not going to be full of myself. I don't want to blow smoke up my own ass, but I was like, I know I am smart enough. I know I am capable enough. I know I am a very strong candidate to take up one of these spots. You don't get to just boot me and shoo me off. No, you don't. So what did I do that day after I got out of class? I went home, spruced up my resume. I went and printed it out. I put on a nice outfit, did my makeup, did my hair, and I took my ass over to the hospital. And I went to every single ICU in the hospital. And I asked for the nurse manager, and I personally handed them my resume and expressed my interest. And then I sent follow-up emails to all of the managers after I did that. I want this too bad to just let this pass me by. So clearly I'm gonna have to try a little bit harder than your average bitch. And oh, did that work. I literally got emails back and phone calls back from, I believe, 3 of the places and had interviews scheduled, and yeah. So if that is not a testament to if you want something bad enough, you will do anything for it, or you might have to work a little harder, whatever. Listen, the sky is the limit, babe. You just got to go out there and chase things. Long story short, with the interview process, basically really competitive. There were only 4 slots in most of the ICUs as to the new grads they were going to hire, and you can imagine the pool of new grads applying is very large. So I ended up getting an offer at the medical ICU, which was my top pick. And obviously I accepted because I said, hell yeah, that's exactly what I wanted. This is my dream job. Let's get it. So got hired on there and started in February of 2024. And our orientation process is very rigorous. It is classroom and on-site learning. So, you have time with your preceptor on the unit. We also are taking exams and doing class days and all things critical care, and it was a lot. It took up a lot of time. It was a lot to balance, and that's what I'm saying. Like, there's not a ton of balance. It's just how much can you give to each thing, and you only have so much to give. You know what I mean? But went through that, and I got off orientation in June June, I want to say. Now, luckily for me, the way our orientation process worked is you orient on day shift. You have a brief like 3-week period where you're on nights in orientation, then you flip back to days. And then when you get off orientation, you are on days for the first 6 weeks, but then they boot you to night shift permanently after that because you're only hired on in the ICUs at my hospital night shift. And I knew that night shift was going to be a big adjustment for me, but when we had done it earlier in the orientation process, I like didn't have any trouble with it, and I was like, oh, I'm excited for night shift. That's going to be totally fine. So it was nice though. Leading up into my first show, I was just day shift. I was still exhausted on day shift, to be quite honest, but it was nice not have to flip back and forth. I knew it was going to be really difficult though, because as soon as I got home from my first show, I had 5 weeks between my first show and my second show. My first shift back from my show was night shift, and I was permanently on nights after that. And so I knew the dieting period between show 1 and show 2 was already gonna be hard, but the fact that I was having to do it on nights, I was like, this is gonna be fucking brutal. And oh, were they brutal. It was honestly terrible. And like every single shift when I would leave, barely making it home. I had zero energy during the shift. I had no desire to like help out and like jump in rooms. And I was like, it is taking everything in me to keep my shit together with the patients that I have and make sure I'm paying attention to things I need to pay attention to and doing everything I need to do and using my brain, which when you're that lean and that depleted, oh my God, trying to keep people who are dying alive, it was a lot. But I did it. I made it through, and honestly, like it made my prep feel so much more fulfilling because I proved to myself that I could do it. But honestly, like the process of prepping and orienting in the ICU and then working on my own in the ICU, like I literally just burnt myself out so bad. And I had been back at work after my second show, after prep was officially over and everything, for about a week. And I think I hoped that like getting out of prep, getting more food, having less cardio, all these things, once the life started to come back to me, I would feel more energized at work. It would be easier to like do things at work. It wouldn't be such a struggle to stay awake. It wouldn't be such a struggle to stay awake to get home. And that was not the case. Like it actually did not change. And there was one day I was like sitting at home. I was off on like it was probably like a random Tuesday or Wednesday alone because Josh works a normal 9 to 5. And I was sitting there and I was reflecting and I was like, I literally hate the state of my life right now. I hate it. I hate my work schedule. I feel so stressed out at work all the time. I never see my partner and spend time with him. Like, I don't even feel fulfilled by nursing right now. I was like, I need to change something because everything about my life right now, I hate. I can't do this. I don't want to go to the unit another day. I don't want to work another 12 a day because I feel so miserable. And I just kind of felt like I woke up. I felt like I had probably been feeling that way for a while, but prep makes it really easy to just like keep pushing and keep moving because everything is just so routine and you're just go, go, go and whatever. Fuck your feelings and fuck your tired body. And I like finally came out of that and I was like, this is not the life I want to live for myself. And I think at the moment too, like when I was in prep, I kind of just thought maybe some of that was just prep and that once I got out of prep I would feel differently. And I realized I'm like, it's not bodybuilding and it's not prep that made me feel that way. It was the job that made me feel that way. And so I was like, I'm done. I am done feeling like I'm just losing my time to this place, losing my sanity. I'm so stressed out every time I'm there. You're literally hyper vigilant for 12 hours. Like that is a lot. I was like, I just want a predictable, normal schedule. I don't want to be flipping back and forth from days and nights. I want to be able to spend the weekend with my partner. I want to be able to spend time with my partner. I want to be able to pour into things outside of work. I'm done. So I went online, I applied for a bunch of jobs, and I was like, I am not doing inpatient anymore. I am done with inpatient. My body hurts. I'm tired of being locked away in a hospital for 12 hours at a time. Like, I don't care that it's only 3 12s. You end up working basically every other day is like how it works with like the days that they require you to work and stuff. And I feel like all I do is work. I feel like all I do is say no to things. I can never go to things. I can never be a part of things. Like I am done. I'm done. So long story short about that, I ended up getting a position at a outpatient clinic that is pediatrics because I said I'm done with these adults. I loved peds. I knew I loved peds. I'm going into peds. So it is a pediatric outpatient unit. It is in the same hospital system and on the same hospital site that I worked at previously, and I work in the GI department. So we are in our soft nursing era, and I just finished my first week there actually, and I love it so much. Oh my God, the kids are such little cuties. All of our providers have been so nice, so welcoming, so down to earth. The nurses are so chill. Like, it is just, I really truly feel like such a weight has been lifted. I feel like I can breathe. I feel like I can live. I have time to do things. My life does not revolve around work, which is heavenly. And this is my first weekend that I get to just like enjoy the weekend and do things that normal people do on the weekend. So I'm so happy. This switch has just been life-changing, and I just like can't wait to see like what continues to happen as I like continue in this role, and how much better I feel, how much less stressed I feel. I know my body is thanking me. My mind is definitely thanking me. So listen, I'm just saying, if you are considering making the transition from inpatient to outpatient because you're feeling tired, because yeah, 12 hours is a long fucking time, just do it, babe. Just take the leap, because it is well fucking worth it. Wow, I have just been rambling and rambling, but we are going to rapid fire some of these last questions, because the other questions were definitely more abstract, if you will, and I don't know, required longer answers. So we're gonna get into some of the like fun questions that you guys had for me. One of the questions did ask me about coffee. Have I always been a coffee drinker? When did I start drinking coffee? Babe, I practically came out of the womb drinking coffee. I come from a family that loves them a cup of coffee. So I was fully, I shit you not, elementary school. I had a horse mug that changed color. It was one of those ones that when you like poured hot water in it, it like changed color. Yeah, that was my mug. And I would drink a cup of coffee before school every single day. So we had a Keurig, right? I would brew myself my little Keurig, and I would put sugar, a lot of sugar, because I liked my shit sweet. Sugar and milk, and that's what I did. So drank coffee like that in elementary school and middle school. Middle school was when I started getting into Starbucks. You know, my first introduction with Starbucks was the caramel frappuccino. Extra, 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 extra caramel drizzle in the cup, lining the rim. I want every single sip to have a chunk of caramel come up the straw. That was my order. And I shit you not, I would tell the workers that. So we started off with the fraps, then I got into like the iced caramel macchiatos at Starbucks, then still the caramel requirements were the same for that. Then I started branching out to like local coffee shops and like really being in my coffee drinking era. Then it was iced caramel lattes for me, still extra caramel always. Then as I got older, I was doing iced caramel lattes with oat milk. I loved some oat milk. I still love oat milk, honestly, but you know, with bodybuilding, that like just doesn't really, it's not really conducive. Still with the extra caramel, because I'm a caramel girl. And then when I got to college, I started making my own coffees in my little dorm room with my little espresso maker. And so I would do iced caramel lattes with oat milk at home. Then once I started getting into like tracking macros and stuff like that, I did the whole Premier protein shake thing, like I told you guys. So I would take one of the caramel Premier proteins and I would brew my 2 shots of espresso on top of that with like some sugar-free caramel syrup, or any kind of the syrups that you would get from like Terraini or like skinny mixes. Those are what I would use. And then once I got into like bodybuilding, I was doing like unsweetened vanilla almond milk lattes, or just like my Nespresso machine or something. And then, you know, over the last couple years, I had fallen in love with the Starbucks cold brew. And beginning of this year, you know, I was like, I feel like I can make this cold brew at home. And I started making my own cold brew at home. And you guys know the rest. Here we are. We have built a cold brew bodybuilding empire. Code Emily Lifts with 2 Y's at the Bones Coffee Company for the best grounds for your brews. I'm not even just saying this like not because I have a code with them. I would buy from them regardless. So I highly, highly recommend. But yeah, that's kind of my journey with coffee. Always been a coffee girl, always will be a coffee girl. I think my blood type is cold brew at this point. I got some questions about like music I like to listen to, or like PR songs. I have a very obsessive personality type. So really I just listen to the same couple of songs on repeat, and typically it's like EDM stuff. So like Sullivan King, Subtronics, Wooly, Alley Cat, Sun and Death. I'm probably missing a big one that I listen to, but I can't think of any other off the top of my head right now. But anyway, EDM stuff. And then I love to listen to like Deftones, Lil Peep, Suicide Boys, Sleep Token. The other one that I was forgetting about for EDM was Excision. But yeah, that's kind of my like music preference. I mean, I also like rap music, and I like a little bit of everything, but I tend to get stuck on things, and so those genres are what I am stuck on, and honestly have been stuck on for the last like year. And so a lot of that is what I listen to PR, but that's honestly every single lift, because the goal is to PR every single lift. So that carries me through. When I saw this question pop up, I was so excited to answer it. Someone asked me, what is my full death row meal? We're talking bev, app, entree, dessert. And I was like, I love this. And I've actually never even just sat and thought about that. I don't know why I'm such a foodie. I literally have watched the like death row videos, death row meal videos, not death row videos. But anyway, I've watched those videos. I forget the guy that makes them here on YouTube. But anyway, here is my death row meal. And this was very hard for me to like condense down. And I'm sure there's probably something I've had somewhere that I'm forgetting about that I would love to have. But okay, current death row meal. If I'm dying tomorrow, what do I want you to feed me? The drink is not going to come as a surprise. We are doing an espresso martini that is made with one of my cold brews. That is the drink. Okay. As for an appetizer, the app that I narrowed down was spinach artichoke dip. I love when you get a good spinach artichoke dip, transcendence. Specifically though, I can't think of a dip from a specific restaurant, a good like smoky, you know what I mean, spinach artichoke dip. The chips, however, I want them to be the chips that you get at Chili's. Those are so crispy, those are so nice and light and delicious. So that, also crispy Brussels. Also, because this is my death row meal, I get to decide. Side of sweet potato fries. Dipping the sweet potato fries in honey mustard, and that's also when I'm gonna dip Brussels in, probably. And the Brussels like dipped in the spinach. Yep, you get it. Okay, that's my app. Entree is going to be some sort of Mediterranean bowl situation. Chicken thigh is being used. I want the red pepper hummus, I want spicy feta, and I want tzatziki in it. Also regular hummus. I want those dolloped on. Kind of, you know how kava does? I want those. I want rice. I want lettuce. I want all the shit. I want a bunch of side pita so that I can choose if I want to use the side pita to dip in the hummus and stuff, make little mini pitas, or if I want to just eat the meal. You get what I'm saying? Dessert has to be, and now if you guys were around, I know I wasn't making YouTube videos at the time, but if you're around on my Instagram, my off season was fueled by none other than the Cheesecake Factory Oreo Dream Extreme Cheesecake. So I'm having that as my dessert with a side of ice cream with hot fudge. Additionally, like I said, this is my death row meal. I get to decide how much. Additionally, I'm having some of that Dubai chocolate that Sophia and I had in Pittsburgh after North Americans. We're having that as well. That is going to be the death row meal. Also, I need to have a Diet Dr. Pepper cherry vanilla from the Coke Freestyle machine. That is my selection. No further questions. Some people did ask how Josh and I met and a little bit of background. So Josh and I started dating in high school. We're actually from the same hometown. If you guys are familiar with like Fayetteville, North Carolina, Pinehurst, North Carolina, that's where we're from. That's where we both grew up. So he is 18 months older than me. So I like didn't even know him growing up though, which is funny, but we have always gone to the same schools, whatever. But yeah, we started dating. I was literally 14 years old when we started dating and he was 16. So we have been together for a long time. Our anniversary is October 19th, started dating in 2017. So we just celebrated our 8-year anniversary this year. And you may be asking, Emily, you guys have been together for 8 years. You guys live together. Why are you not married? Where's the engagement? What's going on there? Honestly, I mean, I literally just graduated from college not even a year ago. So we were like waiting till I graduated and stuff. And I don't care to have some like big wedding anyway. To me, getting married doesn't change anything. That is my life partner. Like we're in this together regardless. So we'll probably get engaged though, like in the next year. And we are just gonna do like a Vegas wedding. Go to Vegas and invite our family, invite some friends out there, get married by Elvis, and then just fuck it up in Vegas. So yeah. So I was asked, what are my hobbies outside of fitness? Well, obviously coffee. I don't even know if you can consider that a hobby, but anything coffee, making it, brewing it, going and trying coffee shops, even though I'm 9 times out of 10 disappointed. I'm a massive foodie. So I, first of all, love watching The Great British Baking Show. That is my #1 watch on Netflix as far as like food stuff goes. I just love watching people cook and bake. It's so entertaining. I love being like educated about food in that way too. But obviously I love trying new restaurants. I love basically going and acting as if I am a food critic, getting a little bit of everything. That's what Josh and I like love to do. Just like go try new spots here in Charlotte, rank them, say if we'd go back. I don't know. That's just fun. I love to shop. I'm a girl. What can I say? So shopping, catch me at TJ Maxx, catch me at Marshall's, Bath and Body Works, grocery stores even. All of it I think is so fun. And honestly, like content creation is a hobby for me. You know, I think one day I would love for content to be like a job in a sense for me. But right now it's just a hobby. It's one of my big hobbies and I love doing it. So content. I did get a question though, if I'm doing like one-on-one coaching or if I ever would consider that. And we'll just do a little soft launch for the YouTube girlies here if you're still watching this. Or guys, sorry. I say girlies, but there are men that could be watching this. I don't know. But I am going to be trying to kind of dabble in some one-on-one online coaching, just lifestyle. So I'm going to work actually this week, you know, once I get this video up and stuff, on getting that set up, getting my books open, if you will, to start accepting a couple people and just kind of getting into that now that I have a predictable work schedule. I have a little more time I can dedicate to that. So that will be coming soon. Last question I am going to answer for this video because it's probably so long. I've probably been rambling forever. At this point, you're probably tired of hearing my voice. Is what is my favorite lift of all time? And I'm gonna be honest, I think my favorite lift of all time has to be a hack squat. I fuck with a hack squat so heavily. Now, here's the thing, you know, not all hack squats are built the same. They are not all cut from the same cloth. Some of them just like do not work for your body mechanics, but a good hack squat I fuck with so heavily. So catch me on a hack squat, I guess. I also, this is bonus, my favorite accessory has to be a seated hamstring curl. I don't know why. I'm not even that strong at them. I just love a seated hamstring curl. Oh my God, and a delt fly. Like a lateral raise. Oh my God, they make you look so good. Okay, there you go. 3 for 1 on that one. Oh my goodness, my voice is like tired from all this talking, but I hope that kind of just gave you guys a little bit more insight into who I am, answered some of your questions. I don't know, we could just sit and have basically like a FaceTime call while you're, I don't know, eating, doing cardio, cleaning your room, putting laundry away, whatever you are using this video to fuel in your life. I hope that it delivered what it needed to deliver. And thank you so much for watching and for being here and for even sending in questions for me to answer, because if not, it was going to be crickets. It was going to be me and the camera staring at each other for 30 minutes and then I post that on YouTube. But seriously, thank you guys so much for your love, for your support. I love making content. Making YouTube videos is something I have always wanted to do, always wanted to get into. And the fact that I even have like a semi platform where I can release videos and people enjoy them, people get something out of them, that just makes me so happy. And I'm so happy you guys are here. I can't wait to continue growing this channel, putting more stuff out now that I'm in my off season. If you have any suggestions for what you want to see, drop it down below. I am more than happy to accommodate all requests. If you guys, you know, want to see more of me, if you want to hear more of my yapping, see more of my day-to-day life, super active over on my Instagram and my TikTok. They are both at Emily Lifts with 2 Y's. Obviously, if you liked this video, go ahead and drop a little thumbs up for me. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already so that you don't miss out on the future videos. And comment down below what your death row meal is, because I love hearing what people's death row meals are. Anyway, guys, thank you again for watching. Thanks again for being here. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Bye!